Hi guys, it's Glenn Munso from Youth U program, and today I'm interviewing Michael Johnson, the MOJO Master. How are you, Michael?
How are you?
I'm good, I'm good. What's been happening?
Not much, mate. I think it's about 46 degrees in Adelaide today, so I'm sitting in my office with the fan cranked and the air conditioner on. It's pretty warm over here. We've had a nice heat wave come through, so it's good.
Yep.
Hence why I'm like you in a tank top at work.
That's it, buddy. Very, very hot. I've got all my animals in the house as well, so if you can hear the bird, that's I have to bring them all in because it's too hot outside. So. But anyway, so what we'll do, we'll get started anyway.
Understandable.
So if you can you just tell us a little bit about what you do now? So what you do now in your life, please.
Yeah, I do lots of things, but my belief in life now is that really we should be creating life to thrive, not just survive. We live in the westernized world where there's really no reason why we can't thrive if we choose to. If we have the right tools, the right people around us, and the right information, the right self-belief, then we can really create whatever we want. And that was something that I found from just reading lots of books. I mean, I couldn't afford to go to seminars and a whole heap of stuff like I can now and like I did back in the day.
Yeah.
But when I first started doing all this stuff, I was just reading books about guys like Richard Branson, who he had the odds turned against him. He was dyslexic, had learning difficulties at school, and he wanted to be a journalist. And really, he was told that he couldn't do it. So he thought,
Yeah.
well, I'll just go around what everyone else thinks, and I'll create my own student magazine. And that's how he got started. Um, and I kept reading stories from people like that, people who had overcome the odds to just create a kick-ass life. And that's sort of what I want to create and inspire in so many other people is that there's no reason why we can't thrive.
Yeah.
Time at school because the teacher told me that this is the way that something was. And my first question is why? And if I couldn't do it and I thought that I could, then I'd do it anyway. And that normally led to a lot of trouble.
That's it. That's it. Prove them wrong.
Yeah. So yeah, where I'm at right now is my business is the Mojo Master. I've got a few different businesses. There's the Mojo Master, there's the Mojo Elite, and it's all based around Mojo. And what I found growing up, I'll go into my story in a minute, but
Yeah.
one of the main things that started to change in my life was when I turned my life around from just being the kid who was always in trouble and causing trouble and probably going nowhere in life to becoming this new person who I was inspired to really just create what I want and challenge the norm.
Yeah.
I started increasing my energy and my vitality with exercise, and I had chronic fatigue when I was 21, and also fibromyalgia as well, where all my muscles and my joints were pretty much locked up and I was in pain almost every
Mm.
day. Um, so I went through all of that stuff, but all of a sudden I started getting this new energy. And the more that I started working on my mindset, the more I started working on my health, the more I started creating the emotions that I wanted to create an awesome life. Because
Yeah.
most people let their emotions control what they do. If you can control your emotions, then you can control what you do. Um,
Yeah.
so I
Absolutely.
started yeah, so I really started creating this awesome energy, and people just started coming more towards me and asking me why I was so energetic and why I was so happy all the time. And even when stuff would go bad, it wasn't really that bad. Like there was always something worse. So I was like the guy who looked at the bright side of things, whereas as a kid I was always looking at the negative things and the things that were
Yeah.
causing problems in my life and blaming everybody else. And
Yeah. Yeah.
so a few of my mates started calling me the Mojo Man, and they said that I had all this mojo, like this good positive energy. And when I looked up what mojo was, it was an African folklore, and mojo spoke about a bag of crystals and herbs, and what it would do is it would ward off negative energy or negative spirits and bring in
Yeah.
more positive energy and positive spirits. And I really thought, well, that's what I do in life is I want to get rid of all that negative crap out of our lives and bring in all this positive stuff because
Yeah.
it's not really just about because there's a lot of hoo-ha out there about especially in the motivation industry that we should just be happy all the time and I think everyone. I mean, I've learned how to conquer or master most of my emotions, but there's still days where I get depressed. There's still days where I wake up and feel like absolute crap. There's still days where my
Yeah,
brain gets the better of me. There's still all those things. It's just how you flip it around. Like now, I might
absolutely.
feel depressed for 5 minutes, and then I
Yeah,
catch myself and I pull myself out of it.
yeah, yeah.
Whereas some people can get trapped in that stuff for months and maybe even years. So that's really what I think that I do with the whole Mojo thing. Did that answer your
Sweet,
question
man.
anyway? Sorry, I went on for a bit.
No, no, that's cool. That's cool. Yeah, because my next question was going to be, asking you, what does the mojo mean to you? But you explained that really, really cool, and that's a really cool concept. Anyway, that's cool, man. So just going back, before
Thank
all
you.
this, what was your life like before the Mojo program? What was your life like before?
That's an awesome question. Um, it was completely different to what it is now. It was almost the opposite.
Yeah,
I mean, my parents had me when they were very young. My mum was 17 when she had me. Dad was, I think, 19. So really quite young. They were young. I guess they wanted to have a lot of fun in life as well. So I got brought up in a completely different environment where there was a lot of stress at home,
yeah,
especially around money and finances, being so young and having to do things on your own. In which case, I learned really hard work ethic, but I hated it because I almost despised it because my parents just worked so much.
yeah,
Um, and then from there, growing up, I love sports and I love being outside. And we used to go away every weekend, or almost every weekend, motorbike riding and wakeboarding and doing some real cool stuff. And to most people, that sounds awesome. But as a young kid, I didn't fit into any groups at school. And so
yeah,
that created a whole heap of problems. When you go to school on Monday morning and everyone's talking about playing in a football team and playing in their soccer team or playing cricket and things like that,
yeah,
I had no idea what had happened on the weekend because I didn't have those peer groups. I grew up
yeah,
around adults who were out riding motorbikes and racing cars. So it was cool, but also as well, I just didn't fit in at school because I didn't relate to kids.
yeah,
So that created a whole heap of problems at school because when you're young, you want to fit in and you want to be part of something. So on school holidays, I pretty much would sit in front of a TV for 2 weeks because
yeah,
I just didn't really have any friends. And then that created a whole heap of problems at school because knowing that I didn't fit in at recess, I didn't fit in at school as well because I was dyslexic and had ADD. I was way too energetic to sit in a classroom. I just wanted to go out and play and kick a football and be around
yeah,
people.
yeah, yeah,
Um, so that caused a whole heap of problems at school because I was constantly either in trouble, asking too many questions, talking in class, or just creating trouble because I didn't want to be there.
yeah.
And because of that, then I'd get in trouble at home. So I really, I think it was, I got kicked out of school. So I was expelled from school for fighting. I've always been, I guess, in a way, compassionate about helping out or determined to help out other people. And what started happening was because I got picked on a lot at school. You can't see it now, but as a kid, I had bright red orange hair, like it was orange hair, and pale pasty skin, and I was overweight as well. So I got picked on quite a lot. And eventually, I realised that my strength was beating the crap out of other kids. And so what ended up happening was when the kids would pick on me, I'd just beat them up. And that worked fairly well for a while because the other kids became a little bit scared of me, but then it also created new challenges because those kids wanted to also try and get that dominance back where they'd try and beat me up. But what ended up happening was that when the tough kids at school would pick on the weaker kids, I'd go and beat up the big guys for picking on the weak kids because I hate seeing people picked on, or
Yeah, yeah,
I don't like that whole mentality of that someone's better than someone else. I never did. I never liked that.
yeah,
So
yeah,
that created problems. Then I was going to drop out of school in grade 10 at school and become a mechanic because I've always loved how things work. I used to sit in class and look out the window and wonder why birds fly, and I couldn't understand why we were being taught these crazy equations in maths that related to nothing about life. Like I just didn't understand it. But
absolutely.
anyway, I ended up changing school, and I started hanging around with some pretty cool kids who accepted me into their peer groups and just accepted me for being me, and that brought me down to earth a little bit more. And yeah, it was different. And I ended up finishing school anyway. I completed year 12 just. Then from there, I went on to complete a diesel mechanic apprenticeship.
Nice.
Uh, and so life became a little bit better. But when I was expelled from school, I hit this huge downhill spiral. It was crazy because I was in so much trouble at home for being expelled from a prestigious school in Adelaide. Um, and my parents, like all parents, just want to see their kids do the best that they can. And
Yeah.
when you're in a lot of trouble, you're in trouble at home. But I felt like I had no place in life. I just felt like the only place that I was comfortable was at home, but I wasn't even comfortable there anymore. I didn't have really any friends apart from one or two friends whose parents also used to take them motorbike riding and racing cars and water skiing and
Yeah.
doing the stuff that I used to do, and they lived right over the other side of town. So I really felt like I had nobody there for me. And one night I ended up, I remember sitting in my room just bawling my eyes out for about 3 or 4 hours straight, because I didn't know whether life should end or life needed to change, and I didn't really know how to change it, and ending it seemed to be the best option. So
Yeah.
I snuck into the kitchen one night and grabbed this big kitchen knife, and I just sat there for probably hours just looking at this kitchen knife, pushing the
Wow.
pressure into my wrist to end it all. But there was something that was holding me back, and I wanted to do it, but I didn't want to do it, and it was just this huge torment in my head of what I should do. And eventually, the frustration, the pain built up so much that I got up and punched the brick wall in my bedroom so hard that I still remember it, the spray of blood up the wall from my wrist or my fist just exploding.
Shit.
And from there, I just got so angry at myself that I decided that I was never ever going to take shit from anyone again, and I would never let anyone determine who I was going to be in life and what sort of person
Wow.
that I could be. And that
Yeah.
was really the turning point of when everything changed.
Wow.
Um,
That's Yeah, that like that's really powerful. That defining moment, for you, to realize that, that like you didn't want to be in this point, in your life as well. So that's very very powerful.
yeah. So then from there, going on to be a diesel mechanic, I was working on all this huge mining equipment because I'm from South Australia, and that was the start of the big mining boom in SA. So I was really at the
Yeah,
forefront of that mining boom, and there was a lot of money being thrown around to mechanics, and it was sort of, if you wanted a job at that time and you wanted to make a ton of money, being a diesel
yeah,
mechanic or an apprentice at that point in time was probably the best thing that could happen. But I saw something different. I went to work and I was happy, like I was excited that I was in the adult world now and I was working and I was going to make all this money because money was going to solve all my problems in life. I was going to
yeah.
buy my first house and get an awesome car, and I just imagined this beautiful woman hanging off my arm as I drove my wicked car to my pimped out house. So I thought, like, I had this huge dream that I wanted to create.
Yeah,
But I'd walk into work on Monday mornings and I would ask the guys, how their weekend was, because I had fun. I'd go out and party and run amok, and it was awesome.
yeah, yeah.
Uh,
Live it up.
but well, the guys in there weren't the same as me. They were hating life. They were making all this money, yet they hated it because
Yeah,
they hated their job. They were normally in a relationship where they were so built up with stress and anger and frustration from their working day that they would go
yeah,
home, they wouldn't connect with their intimate partner, so their relationships were pretty average. They normally
yeah,
didn't
yeah,
connect with their kids, so that it was like their life was just full of problems, and most people in the lunchroom would just connect through all the problems. It was as
yeah,
though they had everything, they had all this money, yet they were still hating life.
yeah,
So I saw this for about 1 or 2 years, and I decided that it was time to change. So I started thinking about what I enjoyed in life and what I
yeah.
really wanted to create in the life that I was going to exist in from that point on.
That's
And
good.
I
That's
went
good.
back and I studied personal training after hours. So I'd work a full day as a diesel mechanic, and
Yeah,
then studied personal training. But back in those days, it was, I think, about 2.5 years to complete your personal training course.
far out.
So I did that, and then it ended up I got signed off my apprenticeship a year early, and the boss called me into the office and he said to me, "Look, Michael, we want to sign you off your apprenticeship a year early. We think you're just as good as all the other employees." And when he signed me off, I walked back into the office that afternoon, and I said, "Look, I don't want to be here anymore. I'm leaving." And I packed up my toolbox and I never looked back. And I hadn't completed my Cert 4 in fitness yet, which you needed to work in the fitness industry as a trainer those days.
Yeah,
But I just walked out knowing what I was going to do. I was scared, but I was also excited. And I walked into the gym that I used to train at. Um,
Yeah, yeah,
and I just asked them, I said, look, is there anything I can do? Can I clean toilets? Can I mop floors? Can I
yeah,
just do something? And for about
yeah,
3 months, all I did was work on the desk, entering people as they walked into the gym. But because I was so happy and I just loved being around people and finding out what drives them in life, I would just ask
yeah,
everyone how their day was, how their kids were. And my boss came to
yeah,
me one
yeah,
day and he
yeah.
said, Michael, look, you're doing such an awesome job that people keep coming up and asking me if you'll train them because they know that you're studying personal training, but you're not a trainer yet and you're not even qualified. If you don't tell anyone, will you start training them? So I just jumped in the deep end and I started training people before I was qualified to train them. And
Yeah.
in that, I built this massive amount of success. And within a year, I was the manager of that gym, running the gym, and that was a
Wow.
whole gym. And through that point as well, I won. We used to have this huge transformation challenge back before the transformation challenges had even started. Really, it was the forefront of this stuff about 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Um, and the first year, one of my clients had rheumatoid arthritis and couldn't even grip a weight. And she was in her late 40s and had kids, and she was a full-time mum, full-time nurse as well.
Yeah.
Lots of
Yeah.
stress. But we ended up getting in. I ended up getting her into a bikini, and we won this competition out of about 105 people that year.
Awesome.
And then the year after, we won it again and then again, and it was 5 years straight that I won it. And so there was about
All
100
right.
to 120 people every year in that challenge, and one of my clients won it every year. Then I went and
That's
worked for a
cool.
national chain, and the same thing happened where we won a national award with that same group of people, like in a transformation challenge, and there were
Yeah.
thousands of people that entered this competition. So we ended up winning that. I decided after that to jump out and to open up my own rehabilitation center in a medical center because I just wanted to keep helping people. And from there,
Yeah.
it just excelled. And that's really what drove my passion, and it was really helping people. So sorry I went on for a bit there, but
No, no, that's
that's my
cool.
story.
That's cool. Yeah, no, that's cool. That's cool. So, what would be your tips that you'd give out to people, to youth, and to staying focused, to staying motivated, and keeping that balance? Like I find, people will all of a sudden they'll jump into these things and they'll change and then they'll go back. So, like, what tips would you say or give out to the youth or people out there that want to get focused now, stay motivated, and have a balanced life so this lasts forever, like yourself?
There's lots and lots of tips. They'll have to come to one of my live events one day. But the basics are there's a lot of things that I've learned on my journey, and it normally comes through a lot of pain. I think the best learnings always come from the biggest problems,
Yeah,
because it's sort of like at the gym. If you load up the weight bar really light and you're just doing light stuff all the time, you're never
yeah,
really challenging yourself. And some people do that, and they wonder why they just don't get results in the gym. Whereas if you go there and you load up the bar and you really put a lot of stress under those muscles, they start growing. And my belief is that problems are always going to exist. So we're never going to get rid of problems. I have people from all walks of life come to my seminars, and some of the people who I work with now are multi millionaires.
yeah,
Some of my best friends are worth hundreds of millions of dollars. So
yeah,
what I've found is that if you don't want problems, never challenge yourself and stay in bed. But even still, that creates problems. So
yeah,
what my belief was that we're always going to have problems. I wanted to create a belief around those problems that would empower me. So my new belief is that when there's no such thing as problems, there's only challenges, and challenges can be overcome. So we've got to take the
cool.
learnings from those obstacles and just keep moving forward. And that
Sure.
happens every day. I think the more and more I challenge myself, the more and more I push forward, the
Yeah,
more problems that it's going to create, but the bigger problems as well. For instance, like even this week, I had someone wipe all my business bank accounts, so I can't pay any of my bills. But that creates a whole new challenge in itself. And I've been ringing up, talking to creditors this week, trying to pay
yeah,
bills,
yeah.
and I'm loving it, like, because
And you
it's a
still have a smile
challenge.
on your
Like I've never
face.
had to do this stuff. Yeah, I mean, no matter what's going to happen, it's not going to take me down. So I might as well just enjoy the process. And
Awesome.
that's some of the things that I've found has been really empowering for me. Is that when I used to look at problems as being this huge pain and this huge obstacle and this huge stress, it used to just frustrate me, and it feels like the weight of the world's on your shoulders, which crushes
Mm.
you. If you feel as though you're happy and excited to take on these challenges, then it's almost like you feel high, you feel big, you feel strong. So why not take on the challenges that way? Because you've got a much better chance of overcoming those obstacles
Yeah.
and achieving your goals. And that's what life's about. It's about challenge.
Cool, cool, cool. Awesome, awesome.
Yeah, so
So,
that's one anyway. I mean, I could go on for hours and hours about lots of little learnings. I mean, there's if you don't mind me just continuing on that topic because this will probably help inspire, especially the youth. Because I wish I would have learned this stuff when I was younger.
yeah,
Another great one as well is never let your past define your future. Um,
absolutely.
some of the most successful people I've ever met have had pretty average pasts. Again, Richard Branson was dyslexic, yet now he's the owner of the Virgin Group. He's got
Yeah,
$6 billion companies, and the guy's amazing. One of
yeah,
my other very
absolutely.
close friends, Brad Smith, was a young kid who wanted to race motorbikes, and now he's got six multi-million dollar companies and made his first $1 million at 19 years of age, and that was
Yeah,
all because he wanted to race motorbikes. That was it. So you don't have to have this amazing past where you've got rich parents and have this perfect childhood. It's all about what you do going on forward, and that's just creating a dream and letting nobody stop you. There in this day and age, there are no rules. We can
yeah,
find anything we want. We can achieve anything we want. The only thing that I always keep in the back of my mind is Richard Branson's teaching, which is do no harm. So providing you do no harm and you make something better than what it is at the moment, you're going to
yeah,
kick ass and you're going to achieve whatever you want in the world anyway. Never ever let anyone tell you that you need to have a good education or you need to go to university or you need
yeah,
to have money. You need to do anything because you don't. Most of my friends who have made absolute fortunes started with nothing. They started from the rock bottom and worked their way up. So many of them were failures at school. They were dropouts. They were troubled kids, and now they're kicking butt. So never let anyone tell you what can and can't be done.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Thank you for that. That's powerful message. Absolutely, definitely worth it. I think sometimes we get trapped and we think that school, money, all these sort of things, that's going to take us to the next level. But you're absolutely right. We all have it in us to take it to that next level, no matter what.
Yeah, I mean, some of the most depressed people I've worked with, and some of these are my clients, some of the most depressed people I've come across are people with huge amounts of wealth. And that's because wealth doesn't create happiness. All money does is it just allows us to become more of who we really are.
Yeah,
And that's something that I always keep in the back of my mind. When people who do the right thing have lots of money, they do more of it, like Oprah Winfrey or Richard
yeah,
Branson or
yeah,
Tony Robbins, amazing people like that, Ellen DeGeneres, who are changing the world with their wealth. Then
yeah,
there's also people out there who are just money driven, don't care about the world, don't care about other people, and they're destroying the world. So money doesn't really make you or break you. It really just makes us more of who we are, and that's really all it is.
yeah, yeah, for sure, for
Mm.
sure. All right. So just talk going back. So what would be your these are awesome tips. Staying focused and motivated. What would be your number one message to youth out there? Youth that sort of don't see what's ahead of them. They're just trapped in that black hole. Depressed on drugs. What would be your number one main message that you would tell them to move forward or to even sort of look outside that horizon to what would your ultimate message be for them?
Awesome question. That's a good one. I have worked with a few clients over the years who have had certain addictions, like drug addiction. Even if you go to my YouTube page, which is
Yeah,
the MOJO Master, there's a testimonial from a guy who I met a couple of years ago, and he was an injecting methamphetamine user,
yeah,
and we've so I actually broke the addiction for a while. I was doing 1 hour addiction breakthroughs, and I said if I couldn't break the addiction, I'd treat them for free and give them their money back. And I did do that for a while. But one of the main things was that you've got to create a vision of what you want. I think people that lack vision are probably the people who
yeah,
suffer the most in the world because we don't actually live in this physical world. We live in our own minds. So some people have
yeah,
everything, and this is a great example. Some people have money, cars, amazing families, yet when what they see out in the world is still this crappy dark hole. Then
Yeah,
there's
yeah,
other people who have nothing, who have no money, poor families, yet they wake up every day with a smile. So we don't actually live in the physical world. What we see or what we believe we see is created in our own mind. So having the vision of what you want and living it now is the key to creating an awesome life. So it doesn't matter if you're someone who's addicted to drugs right now and you know that there's a better place to be, create that place in your head right now and then work on
yeah,
creating on bridging that gap. I remember there was a story from about Walt Disney, and Walt Disney had gone to 308 banks, I think it was, before the first bank said yes. This is a grown man who went to the banks in the early 1900s or late 1800s. I can't remember when it was. And
yeah,
he
yeah,
said to the banks, "Look, I want to create children. I want to create children's cartoons. I want to create cartoons for kids, or this animation for kids." And you can imagine being the first grown adult to ever think of that you want to create pictures
yeah,
for kids. He was laughed at. The bank thought that he was an absolute idiot. And anyway, he kept going and he went to 308 banks. Now, if you think about it,
yeah,
most people get one or two knockbacks in life and they give up. Yet now
yeah,
98% of the whole planet knows who Walt Disney is or have seen a Walt Disney picture, had a Walt Disney t-shirt or something created by Walt Disney. So he's impacted almost the entire planet.
yeah,
Now, one thing that I remember was that when on the launch of Disney World, I think it was Disney World or Disneyland, whichever was the first one that was created, Walt Disney had passed away, right?
yeah,
So he died at that stage. And Walt Disney, when he passed away, was Walt Disneyland or Disneyland, whatever it was called, was only halfway being built. And at the interview or the release of when they opened up Disney World,
yeah,
one of the press reporters asked his brother. So this is Walt Disney's brother. They asked him the question. They said, "Isn't this a bittersweet moment that your brother is not here to see what he'd created?"
yeah,
And his brother looked at the reporter and said, "You know, you really don't see the vision and you don't understand life." And he said, "It's because Walt Disney saw this, it's created now." So what happens is what we create in our mind takes a while for it to come to reality. Walt Disney had created Disneyland and Disney World in his own mind. He saw the picture, he saw the vision of exactly what he wanted to create. And it just took a couple of years to build that so that the rest of the world could see it. Anyone who changes the way that we see the world right now sees it completely different in their own mind first. And that's what we all have to do is if we want to create something, we have to dream it first, because that's where we really live. We live in our minds.
wow, that's powerful, man. That's mind blowing. That's awesome. Thank you for sharing that.
It's my
That
pleasure.
is that is gold right there, man. Thank you, thank you. So, we'll wrap it up anyway. So, thank you, for giving us, awesome content today. Where can we find out more about you and what you do?
Cool. Well, there's lots of different ways. Facebook's probably the best one. The Facebook page, my Facebook page is called the Mojo Master Coach. So if you jump on and check out the Mojo Master Coach, if you've got any questions, just shoot them through on there. I personally answer all my client questions. Like if anyone ever has any questions or wants answers, I always go above and beyond to help out anyone. It doesn't matter where you're starting from. I mean, I've worked with some amazing cases, and I love it. I I get empowered by seeing people overcome their challenges, and it doesn't matter whether these are people who have absolutely hit rock bottom and they've done some really really bad stuff in life. The way that I work is that I can see something better in 99% of people I come across, and if I can help them create a better life, that's what I do. And sometimes it's working with people who have hit rock bottom, and sometimes it's working with people who are world champion athletes, right through to some of the biggest corporate leaders in Australia. So I have a huge range of people that I just love helping. So jump on there. You can also check out my website, which is themojomaster.com.au. There's
Yeah.
free blogs, there's free articles on there. I'm just about to launch a new radio station called MOJO Radio, where I'll be interviewing some of the country's top young up-and-coming entrepreneurs, and also talking about more of this stuff as well. There's live
Sweet.
seminars and events. I'll have my national tour running again this year where I'll travel across the country and speak at a whole different bunch of locations. But come along because my events are wild. We just came
Sure.
up with a new term last night which will be launched.
Yeah.
But it's pretty much, I incorporate education with fun with excitement. One of the first things I did was when I first started running my seminars. The first person I hired was an ex-Ministry of Sound DJ because I wanted to make sure that
Yeah,
our events went off and that people had tons of fun.
yeah.
So
That's
yeah,
cool. That's cool.
if you ever get to
Yeah,
come along to any of my
I'm
events,
yeah, man, for sure, for sure. I'll definitely come down to the Melbourne one because I see it on Facebook. This is not a seminar, this is more of a party, but
it is.
I'm there, I'm there.
If I'm going to do something, I'm going to make it fun. I hate being boring, and it's the same. I got when I went to school. School for me was boring. If they had music and partying and fun, then I would have been there. So I want to provide education and good knowledge while we're having a ton of fun as well and meeting wicked
Sure.
people.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, thanks for your
Yeah.
time. Really, really, really appreciate it. And I'll chat to you soon.
Excellent. Thank you very much. It's my pleasure. Yeah, and if anyone's got any questions, jump on the Mojo Master Coach at Facebook and hit me up.
Sweet. Thanks. Cheers.
Thank you.